Welcome, everyone, whether you're watching or listening to this awesome episode of Tuesday Talks with Darlene. I've got the most amazing guest, a dear, dear friend of mine, Sarah Yeoman. And so, Sarah actually has over 20 years' experience in the health and wellbeing industry with a background in massage, myotherapy, fitness, nutrition, and energy healing, and has a wealth of knowledge across a broad spectrum of topics. Sarah also has a special interest in getting female business owners to understand themselves better so they can show up in their business with less stress and overwhelm. And I love that. I love that. I love it. Now, what we're going to talk about today is authenticity and how showing up as yourself helps you run a business you love. And I love this topic because it's something that I've been really quite conscious about in the last couple of years. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Always love the ability to chat with you. You know, we have great conversations.
We do, and we've actually had a long conversation before we even started this episode, which I love. That's why I love having guests like you on because it just feels so, like we're just having a casual chat. So I'd love for you to actually talk about, if it's okay, talk about your business because you've actually got two sides to it. You've actually got the beautiful in person, and now you've actually got online as well.
Yes, 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 yes. It's been an interesting journey, shall we say. So I have been in the massage myotherapy industry for 24 years, and there's been an evolution around all of that stuff as well because I added in layers like nutrition. I came from a fitness background. For that, I have a bachelor's degree in human movement. And so, and then as I said, I've layered that with energy healing, all of those kind of things. So that's a space for predominantly pain management, improving people's ability to move better, all of those kind of things. So yes, there is that segment of my business. And then about, I guess, 3 to 4 years ago, I evolved into the online space. We all know what kind of happened around then. There was a little bit of nudging from the universe to enter the online space, and it has been a journey. It has been one of, I guess I'll start with, I was as green as they come to the online space. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and it was, let's just say, challenging because I'm so used to that in-person space, and it is very different. That one-on-one in-person space is very different to a worldwide space where in my one-to-one, I'm sitting across from the person. I know who's in there. I know who's seeing me. All of that, I'm speaking to one person. And then the online space is speaking to a whole stack of people I don't know in a realm that I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know who's seeing me, when they're seeing me, how they're seeing me, literally because when I'm asleep, somebody else is awake, right? And so that's been a learning process. So one of my initial phases into that was obviously signing up for a business course that was a disaster, literal disaster. I we got about I think it was 3 modules in, and they started talking about all the strategies they use to get people to buy from them. And I just went, oh my God, I fell for every single one of those
Mhm.
strategies. And let me tell you, they were not, I don't deem them, let's say, integrous strategies.
Mhm.
Like I definitely see them as lacking integrity, lacking transparency, all of those kind of things. So I pretty much shut down learning from that person after that because I felt
Mhm.
dumb. Like I literally
Mhm.
felt dumb for falling for all of those strategies.
Mhm.
And I thought, I actually don't want other people to feel like that if they're going to buy off me. Literally just walked away and went, okay, that's not something I can do. That's not
Mhm.
something I can honor. And so that was my introduction. It was my introduction to the
Mhm.
online business space. And I just went, oh my God. And so then I've done all those things that you mentioned, created
Mhm.
Facebook pages, websites, all of those things, created programs, offerings, all of those good things. And my next tower moment was running a webinar last year. That was a disaster to say the least, but a learning experience now
Mhm.
that I'm looking back on it.
Yep.
And I'm in the middle of it, not very pleasant. Um, and it, as I said, it was a tower moment for how do I want to show up in this world? Like, I don't want to do funnels. I don't want to do unnecessary, and I want my freebies to be truly free. I don't want them to
Mhm.
have things on the back end of them. Like I make note if you sign up for my newsletter, it's in exchange for your emails. It's not, and you get either meditation or a PDF, or you can have both. Um, but I wanted to make that really clear that it was, it was an exchange.
Mm.
I, because I'm like seeing all these freebies out in the world, knowing full well that they've all got ties to them on the other end, and it's just like, why can't we be clear about that? Like literally, why can't we be clear about that? So, as I said, part of my evolution has been, particularly these last 12 months, I decided to really dive into getting to know myself better
Mm.
and wanting to show up in my business in a way that felt authentic to me, that felt easeful, lacking of stress, and I could do it in my way. And using primarily human design and astrology as a
Mhm.
feed into that, like I kind of felt like I needed that what did I kind of focus that gave me something to go, okay, what aspect of my human design am I honoring or dishonoring? What aspect of my astrology chart am I honoring or dishonoring?
Mhm.
And so that just opened up another layer of understanding myself. That gave me the space to go, oh, interesting. That's I can see myself doing that more and more because I have
Mhm.
the Sun Gate 49 on my conscious side, which is all about principles. And I have definitely noticed this year how much more attention I have paid to honoring
Mhm.
those principles, standing up for my values, and knowing that that's an aspect of some of what I'm here to teach other people to do.
Mhm.
And that might be a little triggering. I don't apologize for that anymore. From that standpoint, I literally just go, okay, this is a post I want to write. This is words that I want to share. And I now just do that. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, that's a subset of, as I said, the authentic process of showing up as me. And that's a short
Mhm.
snap of it. Obviously, there's been journeys within journeys of that, of following people going, "Oh, yeah, yeah, are they people that are my people? Are they?" And all of that kind of stuff underneath me getting to know myself is greater discernment for who I'm choosing to invest my time with and all of those kind of things, um, as well as how I show up in my business.
Mm. And I think that's really important. Everything that you said is really important because I've sort of had a similar journey where, I followed all the templates and I followed all the stuff. And in the end, it felt so much pressure. And I didn't actually, like, I loved my business, but it didn't feel like I was actually in a relationship and I was actually doing what felt right. And that's one of the biggest things. And so we're talking about authenticity, and I would love to know what your definition of authenticity is because this last couple of years, I've seen this word, and I will say it, I've seen this word thrown around. Oh, look, I'm being authentic. And it's like, why do you actually need to say you're being authentic?
Yes, yes. It is interesting. It is interesting because I thought about that when I considered naming my circle that I have created as to why I wanted it to be called the
Mhm.
authenticity circle. And it is literally my definition is you're showing up free to be who you are without the fear of judgment of others. So it's taking off all those masks that we've put on over
Mhm.
our lifetime when somebody told us that we were too much, not enough, all of those kind of things. I've had that all my life as well, just like most, I'm going to say 99% of the population has had, whether it was a parent, a teacher, a
Mhm.
sibling, a workmate, a boss, any of those kind of people who've either I've had fallouts in friendships. And again, most of that's been standing up to my principles when I look back at
Mm,
that. Interesting, interesting.
mm,
And so, yeah, authenticity is literally, and I think part of the challenge with authenticity, right? And I did make a post about this, I'm just smattering that in there, is it's not a strategy. Like it
mm,
is literally not a marketing strategy. Because as you said, if somebody needs to say that they're being authentic,
mm.
highly unlikely they're not
Yeah.
being authentic. And they're using that, and most people can feel the dissonance in that,
Mhm,
resonance and all of those kind of things. People feel you before they see
mhm,
you is often a term that's been said when you walk into a room. Somebody can feel you before you're there. I know I'm highly sensitive to energy, so that's very true.
mm,
And I I kind of go, it's so, yeah, as I said, it's a challenge. If you feel like you've got to say it, then you're probably not it. But it's also an evolution. So I get that who I was 12 months ago is not necessarily who I am today,
mhm,
right? Because I've done that deep dive into my human design chart. I've done that deep dive into my astrology chart. I've done that deep dive into my likes, my dislikes, my preferences, my all of that kind of stuff is part of my evolution of authenticity. So the potential is that who I am today is not who I'm going to be in 12 months' time
mhm,
again. So it's an evolving process to be authentic. And most times we will get challenged with our authenticity from somebody else. So
mhm,
we go, and it's in those moments where we get to decide how we're going to show up.
mhm,
Like, am I going to go into those fight, flight, fawn, freeze
mhm,
modes? Am I going to go into that people pleasing strategy? Am
mhm,
I going to go, and a lot of people don't actually realize that people pleasing is a strategy
mhm.
that is part of your nervous system response. It is also often inauthentic.
Yeah.
So that's been part of my evolution this year, as well as kind of going, okay, who am I pleasing for? What
Mhm,
purpose is there? And is that how I want to continue to show
mhm,
up in this relationship? Whether that's my Facebook page, my Instagram page, any of those kind of things. How do I want to shop in those spaces that's authentic for me right now is part has been. So again, coming back to that definition, each time I clear that, I show it with more and more freedom,
mhm.
less and less fear. Every time I unmask myself, unload a judgment made on me from my past, is the freedom to show up as me.
Mm. And I love that because you were talking about triggers. And when I really started, because I had a hobby for years, like 20 something years, I had a hobby because I had a job as well. So I wasn't putting as much effort into the hobby. And so I seen all these things like, we've got to have trigger warnings now. And so I used to do that. And then I got to the point of going, no, I'm actually going to own this. These are my words. And if you're triggered by that, then it's showing you that there's something that you need to look at. It's not healing. I don't like to use the word healing because we're not broken. That's another word I've seen flash around. We're not broken. So it's an awareness. So if I'm triggered by some words, like I love your writing because it helps me be aware of things as well. And that's where I've come to. So I don't put trigger warnings on anything anymore. And that's me taking off that mask of being a people pleaser, of having the fear, oh my goodness, someone's going to, comment on my post and nasty because you didn't put a trigger warning or something. I've had to let all of that go because otherwise, I'm hiding myself. I'm hiding who I am.
Yeah, that is the reality, right? We get taught for most of our lives that who we are is not a version other people
Mhm.
want to
Mm.
experience. I'm not going to use the word enough because I
Mm.
that's a word I don't agree with, because who defines what enough is?
Mhm.
That's a whole conversation for another time. So yeah, and I mean part of my deeper work has been around triggers and giving you wisdom around them and all of those
Mhm.
kind of things. And it's me having some of that, as I said, my tower moment was around surprise, surprise, on triggers. Redefining them, finding the wisdom
Mhm.
in them, all of those kind of things. And as I said, that wasn't a great experience, and that was enough for me to go, okay, something going on here.
Mhm.
What do I need to do differently? How do I want to show up differently? How do I acknowledge that I've given my power away in this situation and move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I stuck in that sludge for a little bit. I'm going to own
Mm-hmm.
that. I've been in the messy middle probably for a large portion of this year. That started clearing up in the last couple of months. And sometimes we need to go through those moments
Mm-hmm.
to kind of go, as I said, what do I really want? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, particularly women, don't actually know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They're searching for something. They think the solution is a six-figure business or a seven-figure
Mm-hmm.
business or this or that or any of those kind of things. A family with two kids, a dog, and
Mm-hmm.
then they get the family with two kids and a dogs and the six-figure business or the seven-figure business and go, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
Is this it? Is this what my life is? Is
Mm-hmm.
this what all that effort has eventuated and then wonder why they don't feel fulfilled? Because they haven't lived their life.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it because society in general has, manipulated us into thinking that life has to be, as I said, husband, wife, two kids, the
Mm-hmm.
dog, the house, the all of those kind of things. And standing in a space where I don't have children, I I currently don't have a pet, all of those kind of things. And along that journey, being told, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Like, why not? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, because that was a choice I made. That wasn't a direction I saw myself traveling in. And having other people kind of then, and as you were talking about triggers, this is one of the big ones, particularly for women of my age, getting towards 50, going, oh my God, I could have chosen differently,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that comes home to roost, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't have to have the kids, I didn't have to have the
Mm-hmm.
husband, and I didn't have to have the dog and the cat, and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. I am married, but what I'm saying is, it brings up a space in them. Often it dies a conversation as soon as I say I haven't had kids or I don't have kids,
Mm-hmm.
because and I know in that moment that they're having their aha moment or their disintegration moment and going, oh, if I didn't have to have that, what could I have?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously some of that evolution comes around for them. Hence, as I said, I also don't do trigger warnings. I write, I
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that there's probably an energy or an essence within some of my writing that makes people go, oh, interesting point. They might not
Mm-hmm.
actually even say
Yeah.
interesting point of view. Uh, More likely to get all rampy
Mm-hmm.
and archy and all of that. Silently, obviously. And I have that skill now. If any of those kind of things come up for me, I'm kind of like, okay, where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
When was I told that it was meant to be
Yeah.
different? And how can I soothe myself, not relying on someone else to fix
Mm-hmm.
me, do all those kind of things. So, and that's been an interesting
Mm-hmm.
journey. That's been an interesting journey as well, recognizing my triggers and all of
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. But I honor the fact that if you process them,
Mm-hmm.
how much peace is on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone that you work through, every dissolution that you go through, every recognition, evaluation, honoring the piece at the other
Mm-hmm.
side, which has been the same for my business journey as my personal journey. Every one of those things that I go through and go, that doesn't resonate for me, why not clear
Mm-hmm.
it? And then I'm now at a place with my business where I write whatever I want to write. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sitting there kind of meeting a trend or typically I'm responding because I'm a manifesting generator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responding to what someone else has written or what someone else has said and gone, okay, I have a point of view about that. I'm going to share
Mm-hmm.
that. And then you can take your evolution on the other side of
Mm-hmm.
that. You can either agree with it, disagree with it, and all of those kind of things. So, yeah. So, as I said, I don't think we should. I understand on some way why some people want a trigger warning. But as you said, I think there's healing behind, and I know you didn't like using that word, but we'll call it an evolution behind that,
Mm-hmm.
an evolution of self, more understanding of self that comes to that. And then there's freedom on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's freedom to go, oh, I can agree with that. I can disagree with that
Mm-hmm.
because that was another big learning curve of mine. I actually don't need everyone to agree
Mm-hmm.
with me. Like I literally, for my opinion to be valid, I don't actually need anyone
Mm-hmm.
to agree with me.
Yep.
And the freedom that came after that
Mm.
with my writing, with my expression, with showing up in general was huge. But I only got there because I got triggered by someone else's container telling me
Hmm.
how to behave.
Mm.
And it was just like, oh, there's something here. And when I dove into it, there was I actually that was the evolution of my
Hmm.
process came to I actually don't need them to agree with me.
Mm.
And it was interesting. They wanted to know what the trigger was when I expressed that this was an outcome I was having. I'm like, you actually don't need to know.
Mm.
You actually don't need to know because I've worked through it. It's no longer your problem. It was always my
Mhm.
problem. So we can move forward.
Yeah, we can. And I was just thinking about business as well, is that I created a business off my coaches, what they wanted me to actually have. And one in particular, it was all about finance. Okay, help female entrepreneurs make money. And I wasn't really confident in myself at that stage. Now I'm really confident. And you're talking about making choices. We've got a chance to make choices in our business. And you're talking about calm. My brain has always overthought things. I am now at a space where my brain can be quiet. And it's like, my brain's quiet. Is there something wrong with me? Because I'm used to my brain literally being on nearly 24/7. And it's calmed down because I've made choices for myself and for my business. So I've now made those choices to create a business I want, not what my coaches have told me. And that's why I now only work with one coach, because that coach supports me in my decisions. Occasionally, will actually, just say things and go, have you thought about this? And I'll say, I have, and I don't like it. I'm not doing it. And then she'll say, it may make you money. I said, I don't care. I'm not doing that. It doesn't feel right. And it's such a great thing to be able to make those choices and go, this is my business. I'm not going to follow the templates and I'm not going to follow your program, etc. I'm doing it my way. Support me. If you don't, then I'll find someone who will.
Yeah, I think there's been a false narrative placed out there that there's only one way to do
Mm,
business. I know I fell into that when I
mhm,
first got into the space, and I think it's what leads to burnout,
mhm,
frustration, disappointment, and thinking they're the problem.
mhm,
When the reality is it's the system out there that's the
mhm,
problem. And the fact that they felt that the only way was to tune themselves out,
mhm,
dishonor themselves. And you can
mhm,
only do that for so long, right?
mhm,
It's only so long that you can, before you kind of go, I recognize I'm abandoning myself. I recognize I'm throwing myself under the bus here. I recognize that this isn't working for me. And then they go, oh my God, but what do I do? What do I do? And that's a moment I've been through. And as I said, it's consciously one that you keep evolving through because there are still things that come up and I'm like, yep, no, 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 yes, nope,
mhm,
nope, yep, all over the place, right? Because
mhm,
we're making decisions and choices multiple times a day
mhm,
when it comes to what we choose to invest in, our time, our money, our energy,
mhm,
all of those kind of things require choices behind them. And the more conscious we can be in those choices, the more likely they're going to actually be for us. It's when
mhm,
we, as I said, filter in all that noise outside, like when we filter in the coach and when we filter in
mhm,
an online feed and all of those kind of things telling us what success is and what success isn't and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing and all of those kind of things. That's not until you clear all that noise away
mhm,
that you can actually learn to listen to self. And that's a process.
mhm,
And it's a learning process. And I think, as I said, I know, and I say these to my myotherapy clients as well. We're taught to tune ourselves out.
mhm,
So in that case, you're taught to tune your pain experience out because it's perceived as bad, something
mhm,
that's inconvenient, all of those kind of things. And then for me in the online space, it was tune out what was, my values and all
mhm,
of those kind of things that said to make a dollar. And I know you and I are very similar in that we're not here to make dollars for the sake of making
mhm,
dollars. We want to empower women in our
Mm-hmm.
process. We want them to feel good on the other side of their purchase. We want them to feel like they're seen and they're heard and they're witnessed in their stories and all of those kind of things. That's so important to me. As and that's the same online, in person, all of that kind of stuff. It's and as part of, I think, when I look at it, often as children we're not, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not everyone's experience. I know that's not everyone's experience, but it is a large proportion of
Mm-hmm.
women's experience that we're told that to be quiet, too emotional,
Mm-hmm.
calm down, all of those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. So we literally kind of go, okay, I can't say anything. Okay, I can't express anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't cry. I can't do this. I can't, all of those kind of things. And then we wonder why we end up, for some people, in the wrong partnership, in the wrong
Mm-hmm.
business, in the wrong work even. How many people are doing jobs because their mum or dad said that was the thing?
Mm-hmm.
I originally trained to be a primary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was just something that my mum had been a teacher, and I think it was just that expectation of women of, that era, 30
Mm-hmm.
years ago. But all of those kind of things. And then I sit here and I go, I'm not surprised that that didn't eventuate,
Mm-hmm.
even though I tried, because when I was in that industry, the red tape, the
Mm-hmm.
control, all of those kind of things were never going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it for a very short period of time, and that's where massage came into my vision, was when I decided not to teach anymore. It was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? I was lucky enough, I had a massage school within walking distance of home. They had an intensive 3.5 month course to start with that flowed into the diploma. I then worked in the industry and came back and did myotherapy 5 years later. And but that was all about, I actually found my home in massage
Mm-hmm.
compared to the teaching. I was good at it. People enjoyed what I had to offer. I could do it my way. It was interesting. I can still remember a conversation I had with someone I worked with who was training to be a personal trainer. And I said, you can take all the information in
Mm-hmm.
and then you make it yours. So literally pass your assessments and then do it your way. Uh, and I was saying that 25 years ago now, right? So it's not something that hasn't been in my sphere, but it was amazing how easily influenced I was in when I first came into that online space, because I didn't feel like I knew enough.
Mm-hmm.
When in truth, I actually knew more than I ever needed
Yep.
to kind of sit there and go, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
That works for me. That doesn't work for me, and all of those. And I I don't have testimonials on my webpage for social proof or any of those kind of things. That challenges a lot of people's normative things. And it was interesting when I put that forward with like my authenticity circle and things like that. I could tell that people were challenged by the way I did it
Mm-hmm.
so differently to suggestions. So there's no link to sign up to. You have to contact me personally. I want to know who's attending
Mm-hmm.
these events. I don't want it to be some person I don't know who may not be aligned with my work or any of those kind of things. I want to know who you are. And so some of that I know has challenged people's views on how business needs to
Mm-hmm.
be done. And I'm not apologizing for that, that you actually don't need to do it like
Mm-hmm.
everyone else. There is a way that you can find that's sustainable for you, enjoyable for you, all of those kind of things. You've just got to learn to honor self, right? You've really, and hence, as I said, removing all those masks is often a
Mm-hmm.
one story at a time, one instant at a time, one choice at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. And to kind of see myself evolve into a business I like showing up for. And I've learned to fall back in love with my in-person stuff, because there was a story I was telling myself that wasn't valuable enough because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't online and it wasn't scaling and it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
doing all these kind of things. And I'm like, no, I'm in my zone of genius in there. And so, yeah, just love showing up for work all over again and all of those kind of things. I remember, all of why I do it and all of those kind of things were brought back through this period of evolution of going, okay, what is it I want to do and how is it I want to show up
Mm.
that works for me?
So is that how you actually, because the topic was also about falling in love with your business, is that how you actually did it?
Yeah, one choice at a time. One
Mm.
choice at a time, one decision at a time, one clearing of a story at a time, one I've got tears showing up.
Mm.
Yeah, literally. It wasn't, as I said, it wasn't overnight. It was coming from an experience I didn't expect to have that opened me up at my core to go, Sarah, you can't keep doing it like this. If you're going to keep doing it like this, you're better off shutting it down. You're
Mm.
better off finding some other way to invest your time and
Mm.
energy. Um, and but there was a part of me that said, no, I clearly have a message to share.
Mhm.
And and as I said, here I am now
Mm.
sharing that message that we as women don't have to capitulate to a men's male dominated industry that tells us that we've got to hustle, that we've got to do it
Mhm.
bigger and we've got to do it faster and we've got
Mhm.
to yeah, basically and you know and some of that comes back from feeling like a burden as a child,
Mhm.
that lack of value in children, that lack of
Mhm.
value in uh, family, that lack of value. And I part of my journey has also been finding the balance between business and home life.
Mm.
You know, I have a husband I want to spend time with. I don't want my work to
Mm.
be everything. Like I commonly say, I want my work to be a part of my life, but not my life.
Mm.
And and for some people, that's not their, that's not the story we get told. We get told when we get in the online space, we've got to give everything to it.
Mhm.
And and so no,
Mm.
I choose not to do that. And that's part of my evolution as well, is finding that balance, is
Mm.
literally recognizing that I can't massage 5 days a week, and that if I want to have energy left over to give to others and to myself. And so yeah, literally one choice, one decision at a time and and the biggest part of that is it has been my choices.
Mm.
It hasn't been I dropped out of a lot of those containers that were telling me how it should be done, all of those, business groups and all of those kind of things to yeah, on a self
Mm.
and go, they're my choices. I'm owning that. I get that they're not standard. I get that that's going to be most likely a more challenging journey, but I'd rather that challenge than one where I sell my soul for $1.
Mm.
It's not something I choose to do. And yeah, you
Mm.
know, the more I honor that, the easier those choices become.
Mm. I love that. And just for those that are not aware, you were talking about stories. What do you actually mean by a story?
Those moments when we get triggered, there's something that we say to ourselves in that moment. It's either, and as I said, I don't like the comment, I'm not enough.
Hmm.
It can be, as I said, one of my early childhood stories was feeling like a burden.
Mm.
Um, there's lots behind that. Uh, and that set me up for some financial aspects that I had to work through, valuing that I'm worth investing in, I'm worth spending money on,
Hmm.
all of those kind of things. Because when we get told when we're younger that we don't have enough money to pay for you to go to dance classes, which was my situation, all of those, the stories that we tell behind
Hmm.
that, which are typically, I'm not worthy of being invested in. And as I said, I'm a burden because what I want can't be paid for.
Hmm.
Uh, so So yeah, so usually it's in that snippet when you've just been triggered.
Hmm.
Somebody said something and you go, you want to come in and you want to interject your viewpoint, there will be a story there. There will be a
Hmm.
story that you tell yourself or that you've been told over and over and over again that is now ingrained. And until you recognize that story, you can't change it
Hmm.
or bring awareness to it so that it can evolve.
Hmm.
So one of my earliest recognitions around this was I was sitting in the car with my husband. I don't know where we were driving, but I still remember him going, if I get a golf membership, I'm going to have to play every weekend. So that means that I have no time for you, right? And in that moment, I felt like I was being abandoned. It was just
Hmm.
like, why don't you want to spend time with me? Why? And that brought memories back of my father. my father and my childhood and all of those kind of things. So, and once I recognized that connection, and in that moment, there was a conversation going on, and I said, no, this is actually my stuff. This isn't your stuff. This is my
Mm.
stuff. And that gave me my power back. That gave me
Mm.
my power back. And ever since then, I have a method that I take myself through and others through when it comes to dealing with their triggers. And that was when it evolved. Like it started, it was like, okay, I'm recognizing that something's going on here. I'm telling myself a story that's not true right now.
Mhm.
And, part of the process is finding out where that story came from. Okay, that was when I was 16. My dad was doing this stuff, all of those kind of things. That's actually not my husband's problem. That's my
Mhm.
problem. And yeah, and then, as I said, there was a self-soothing process in there, probably not as efficient as it is now. And just kind of going, okay, yeah, I know where it's coming from. I know that it's not this situation here right now, right? And moved on and moved
Mm.
on. And so he's now playing golf every weekend without me worrying about that, without me
Mm.
going, no, 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 you can't do that. No, I
Mm.
feel left out. I see that as time that I now get to do things like this and I get to spend time investing in what I want to do.
Mm.
And so I'm happy, he's happy, but I had to go through that trigger
Mhm.
dissolution process to get there.
Yeah. And if someone's just starting to understand about stories and they want to work through their stories, is there one particular technique that you actually first started with that you think might help others?
Uh, As I said, I created my own. Like I
Mm.
literally created my own because I didn't see anything out there. Like I
Mm.
didn't see anything. So that's my RISE method. So I pretty much just briefly went through it then, which is recognition, investigation, soothing, and evaluation.
Mhm.
So recognizing where it is, investigating where it came from, soothing your response, and then evaluating whether there's still something there, which was a
Mhm.
deeper layer. And then you go through that whole process again. So that's what I use, and it's amazing because it takes the energy out of it. Like it literally takes the energy of the trigger out of it. You become curious, and you become invested in finding the core of when it started, who said it, what did they
Mhm.
say, in what situations were you in, so that you can kind of go, okay, I'm not that 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old,
Mm.
14-year-old, 16-year-old anymore. And yeah. And then, as I said, that the soothing part is actually really important as
Mm.
well, that you calm that nervous system down, however you choose to do that. That can be essential oils, it can be meditation, it can be literally just saying the word soothe to yourself 10
Mm.
times over until you actually feel
Mm.
calmer in and of yourself. So that but yeah, I hadn't seen anything out there at the time. It was
Mm.
and so yeah, so I created my own.
Mm. And I love that. And that's another way of us talking about authenticity is creating your own things, making the choice. So you seen there was nothing out there. You made the choice to actually create your own things so you could work through those stories.
Yeah, and help others if they're in their
Mm.
moments and all of that going, yep, I've got a strategy for
Mm.
you. And the thing about my strategy, and I make it clear to anyone who chooses to use it at any point in time, you can morph it, change it,
Mm-hmm.
shift it so that it works for you,
Mm.
right? So, and that's why the soothing component is your process. It's not me telling you you've got to listen to this particular
Mm-hmm.
meditation and there's only one way to
Mm-hmm.
self-soothe and all of those kind of things. So, yeah, and it's however you choose to evaluate it and go,
Mm.
yep, I'm there. And today might be you might just go, yep, I'm happy with that level. I
Mm.
know there's something under it, but I'm not ready to dive deeper,
Mhm.
right? But you know there's something there. They can stop there. They don't have to go back. They can,
Mhm.
as I said, they can go back and forth between recognition and investigation. They might go, oh, that's interesting. What am I now recognizing? Oh, and flip and do all of those kind of things. So
Mhm.
I make it abundantly clear, yep, there's a foundation, but you don't have to stick to that
Mhm.
if that's not working for you. And again, if you want to find your own thing, do your own thing. I'm not here to tell you my way's the only way.
Mhm.
Your way's your way, and that
Mhm.
works for you.
Yeah, and that's the whole aspect of life and business is having the confidence to be able to say, if you're working with a coach or whatever, I don't actually agree with that. That doesn't feel right for me. And then if the coach says something, you go, no, I'm standing up and saying, I'm not following that. And I mean, it does take a lot of confidence to be able to go, no. And it takes a lot of confidence to actually leave a program or something. Like I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and I won't say how much, but I spent a truckload of money on coaches thinking they knew more than I did. Because that's what I was taught as a child to be seen and not heard. And, I'm a woman. I don't know my own body. And it's like, these were stories, beliefs that I were taught and learning how to unravel all that because for I think over 30 years, I suppressed all those emotions, all those stories. I didn't want to know anything. And so then learning how to actually look at that, we do form our own beautiful techniques. And so the first time I stood up and went, no, I'm not doing that, it was like the coach was like really quite at me, and I went, no, I'm not doing that. And it was just amazing.
The freedom that comes with it.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other side of that is the longer you suppress it,
hmm
the easier you are to be manipulated,
hmm
right?
hmm
If we want to use some of the tactics out there and some of the
hmm
things that we fall for, because commonly the story is that we don't know enough and that
hmm
we need somebody else to tell us how it's done. And I don't, and again, I think there is a core foundation that you need to know,
mm
but there should be nuances within that, right?
hmm
Is my philosophy anyway.
hmm
And my way may not work for you from that standpoint.
hmm
Hence, why all my work is about you getting to know you better, not me telling you who you
Yeah.
are, right?
Yep.
That's not my work. My work is not about that. My work
hmm
is having a space where you can learn what you stand for, how you stand for it, and how you're going to show up in the world. And
hmm
I'm there to support you do that. That takes courage.
mm
That takes courage. It's not just confidence, but it is courage
mm
because we can lose things along the way. We can lose friends, we can lose
hmm
relationships, we can lose. But also, I'm going to add on the flip side, we can also have better relationships,
hmm
better businesses, better home lives, all of those kind of things when we honor self.
hmm
And also part of that is part of my journey has been I am so much more compassionate for others in
hmm
this process, not just for myself, because I'm like, what's led them to do that?
hmm
What story are they telling themselves? What experiences have they had that have
mm
made them to make those choices to say that their their stuff's not worthy? They're going to copy someone else's because I'm not going to be a carbon copy of someone else. So that's a choice I made as well.
hmm
That yeah, I want to shine in my own light. I don't want to be a carbon copy of
hmm
some other person, even if I do think that they're great. I don't want to copy them.
hmm
And so, hence, as I said, it all comes back to shining a light on self and clearing away all, I'm going to, the dirt, the dark, all of those kind of things that have covered up our true shining light
hmm
because we're pretending to be someone we're not,
hmm
you know. I think we all get to a space. Well, I like to think, maybe not all of us, some of us can continue under the guise of if I ever say what's true for me, it's going to end up as a worst
hmm
case situation. And that's why I wanted to bring in that flip story. You can have
hmm
more intimacy in your relationships. You can have
hmm
greater connections in your business. And I've seen that. I've seen that. I've experienced it. I've seen it through others, all of those kind of things. When your true self shines, it allows somebody else's truth to
hmm
shine as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that. And that's a beautiful way to sort of end this. But I would love for you to, is there something that our listeners can actually take away from this beautiful conversation
what can I take away?
besides everything that we've just been an amazing conversation.
I I think that I'm not going to pretend it's been easy.
Mm,
Like I don't want to set you up for failure. I don't want to set you up for thinking that as one story solves the whole problem and things like that. But I guess my takeaway is if you chip at it, you will learn to love your life. You will learn to, and I'm going to add this, and we've only briefly touched on it, that your children and the future generations will also see this,
Mm.
and they will get to shine their true selves if you allow yourself to try shine your true self. They get to go, mum's doing that, or and if we've got men watching this, they get to see dad doing it as
Mm.
well, or whoever's in their life that they look up to, or whatever. The more truth they shine, the more truth they allow their children to shine. And I want to see a world where everyone gets to shine their truth and is loved for who they are, not what they do, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you for
And
providing.
mm,
I was just going to say thank you for providing the space.
oh, I really appreciate it. I always love chatting to you. And that's why I wanted to get you on because I'm like, we're going to have an amazing conversation. I just know that. And so in the description, I've actually got a link to everywhere that you can find Sarah. So if you feel right, go and, find her and find like Sarah's posts that she has. I love them because they help me also, be more aware of things as well. And so, please go and have a look if you feel that's right. Now, Sarah, have you got something that you would actually love to talk about, a product or a service?
So my service that I primarily offer is a uniquely you session, and there's no packages or anything like that. I trust that you know the frequency at which you need to show up, if you want to show up, all of those kind of things. It is all focused on you.
Mm,
I, as I said, I'm a supporter in the background for you to investigate anything where you're feeling stuck, you want some help. As I said, support. I have the holistic counselling in the background as well. I know I didn't mention that earlier, but uh, so yeah, it's a supportive container for you to express yourself without
mm,
fear of judgment. So sometimes you need those spaces before you can say it out in the real world. You
mm,
need to you need to generate that internal safety, and sometimes you need a container with somebody else who can shine that light back on you. So that's what uniquely you is. It's a
mm.
container for you to explore self.
And I love that. And as someone who actually has worked with Sarah, the way you've helped me feel seen and heard was really beautiful. And that I think is one of the most powerful things, like it's just beautiful. So thank you again, Sarah, for your time on this beautiful episode. I have absolutely loved it. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. And I'll see you on the next episode.